Our next speaker, Amaresh Godbole, who is MD at Digitas and will speak on brand action powered by technology. Amaresh Godbole.
Hi everyone, I'm from Digitas. We are one of Publicis Group's two big digital spearheads around the world. The other one being Sapient Razorfish. As you can see, both of us are in Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And this is also a great way to slip in a slide, which is a shameless plug. Uh, right, so I'm here today to talk a little bit about one of our case studies, which I think is a great demonstration of how brand purpose can be converted into brand action using technology. Honestly speaking, we have a 2-minute video which pretty much explains everything that we've done. But since I had 5 more minutes to fill up, I'm going to give a little bit of context to where that's really coming from, right? I think pretty much everyone in this room today will agree that the audience today has a lot of options and there's a lot of distraction. And where it's really coming from is the fact that there's a whole plethora of companies around the world who are basically, to put simply, getting the entire world's supply of things and putting it one swipe away. So Facebook and Tinder is getting you the whole world supply of people. Amazon is getting you the whole world supply of goods. Uber is getting you the whole world supply of cabs. And that really is a big, big distraction for a potential audience for any marketer. Secondly, there's been a big shift in need states as far as culture is concerned and as far as people are concerned. I recently read a book called Factfulness, and I would highly recommend it to everyone in the audience. It's basically a take on macroeconomic data over the last 50, 100 years or so. And what it says is, despite all the negative news that we see around us on every macroeconomic and social indicator, the world is actually a far, far better place than it was even 50 years back, right? And what that's doing is it's changing need states. So yes, there's still poverty in the world. There's a lot to be taken care of. But for the top half or the top tier that actually buys products or services, their mindset is changing. So earlier it was all about basics. It was about escape. It was about status. Today it's about creativity, expression, and self-actualization. And that's really where it's moved towards. So, and this starts reflecting in communication around us as well, right? So if you look at Scotch and whiskey commercials from 5 years back, it was all rooted in status. It was all about status cues, saying if you have this glass in your hand means you've arrived. Today they've taken note of this, and you'll see a lot of surrogate advertising for Scotch brands, which actually talks about self-expression, which talks about self-actualization, where someone's going and doing good in a village, and that's what is the new status, saying you arrived and you've gone so far in life that you don't need to worry about proving your status, you go and do good for people, and that's the new status for you. Third, and this is important, is that technology has basically broken the barriers whether it comes to manufacturing or services, so the competitive barriers for entry are very low. And what that really means is that in any category, whether it's a product or a service, very quickly the offering becomes parity, right? We've seen this in manufacturing. 3D technology, 3D printing and other technologies have basically completely disrupted the manufacturing world. We've seen this in services. We're all consuming this. Blockbuster went bust very quickly. And interestingly, it's also happening in terms of individual contributors. Today, across the world, there are so many more people who are able to, just start on their own. And that's the reason for a WeWork to exist. Because you know what? You're a good Instagram photographer, you can just get started. There's demand for that. That wasn't the case till a few years back. So what's that doing to us in the marketing realm is that proposition is no longer enough, because your proposition is not your differentiator. So traditionally, you take an approach where you took a brand's proposition and created something that was emotional, whether it made you laugh or whether it made you cry. And a beautiful ad like this was enough to move your product. But the fact of the matter is today, because the proposition itself is completely parity in any given category, and if it's not, it will become so quickly. People are asking, why should I choose your brand over the next person's? And I think this was touched upon in the previous presentation, saying that, a lot of brands are therefore trying to answer that question, saying, what is my reason for being in this world? And a lot of brands are actually realizing the power of purpose, right? So I'm not going to get too much into purpose. Everyone here understands brand purpose. That's essentially one of the new ways of building brands. If it's rooted in your product, like it is, say, for a Tesla, there's absolutely no reason to go around even advertising. From what I understand, Tesla doesn't advertise at all, or if it does, it's just at a local level. They don't need to do this because they're solving a real problem, right? They're saying we're going to come up with cars that are emission free, and people respect that and they're buying that. If you're a brand, you do need to get that out there. I think one of the best examples around the world in terms of doing purpose-led marketing and being a brand that is purpose-led has been Dove. They've done a lot of communication about it. What they've also done is a lot of action. So a lot of their social experiments and stuff actually take it on ground in terms of saying that, what is real beauty all about, challenging social norms, standards, etc. So to put it simply, today the question is, as a brand, I mean, do you stand for something? Do you stand against something? Are there specific problems that you're trying to solve? And when you change that frame, when you start thinking that way, it actually changes the entire approach that you would take, right? So for instance, Kodak was actually the first company to come up with a digital camera. I think in the 1970s, in their R&D labs, they had invented the first digital camera. But they chose never to release it because they were worried that it would cannibalize their films business. And we all know how that went eventually. So if instead they were a company, if they thought about themselves as, being a maker of films, but if they thought themselves as being, leading the purpose of preserving memories, they might have thought differently about that, right? And that's really the difference between purpose and proposition. It might stem from your proposition, but it's a far higher order, higher order purpose that you're solving for the consumer. So today it could be films, tomorrow it could be a digital camera, day after it could be something else. I mean, we don't know what it's going to be. So coming specifically to the case study on hand, we've got Rin and Unilever who are brilliant at what they do. And I think I'll just let the video speak for itself, how technology has actually enabled purpose over here.
One of the key gaps that we're finding in a lot of job seekers today is a lack of soft skills. While they have all the requisite degrees, they struggle with the skills and the professional etiquette that is required for them to get through the job interviews and progress in their careers.
Rin, a leading detergent brand from Unilever, has always stood for bright clothes that give you the confidence to realize your dreams. The Rin Career Ready Academy was conceived as an initiative that went beyond laundry to empower people with the skills and confidence required to be employment ready. Given the scale of the opportunity, the Academy wasn't about traditional classrooms of bricks and mortar, but instead one of bits and bytes. However, there was a problem.
The requirements were challenging. We needed a scalable, economical and sustainable platform to cater to multi-market rollouts and multiple languages, and it had to do this across devices and bandwidth, including 2G feature phones.
We started from scratch, mapping user personas and creating unique user journeys for each. Using material design, gamification, and interactive content cards, we built a platform that was responsive, not restrictive, and transitioned seamlessly from the desk to the pocket. Lessons were made relevant for every kind of student. Every action received instant feedback and recognition, and the user interface was both engaging and immersive. Additionally, we ensured users could transition seamlessly from IVR to the web platform. The deepest corners of the country now had access to quality career-specific content, irrespective of bandwidth.
In these 15 days, I gained so much of confidence that I have started applying it. I perform well in 2 interviews and 2 more are lined up.
Today, the Rin Career Ready Academy is empowering an entire generation of young people with the skills and confidence to realize their ambition, not just in India, but across the globe. What started out as an initiative to empower the youth across India has now become a powerful medium to bring about social change. And that is a story worth telling.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so very much for that, Amaresh.